Hello and welcome to the third and the Don Football Show. I'm Joe. With me is Cecil, as always, here to recap the Week 11 games and preview the Week 12 games. It was a little bit of a rough week for us as Bengals fans, Cease, but other than that, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm still in mourning, but I kind of gone through the stages of grief, and I think I've come to acceptance. But yeah, other than that, I'm doing great. It's Thanksgiving week.
Absolutely. A lot to look forward to, a lot to be thankful for, and for the Bengals that might be getting a higher pick in the draft and having a better season next year. But let's get right into it. I mean, that's the first game we're going to recap anyway. So we have the Baltimore Ravens beating the Cincinnati Bengals 34 to 20. The story of the game, obviously, there was some compression sleeve on Joe Burrow's wrist. Apparently, that's part of the routine, but definitely raised some questions. And then he goes into the game, gets landed on by Jadeveon Clowney, and his hand blows up, and he can't grip the football. And at that point, it looked like the Bengals kind of, after he went out of the game, they kind of gave up. They knew the game was over. No one on the defense was tackling. Jordan Battle, who just entered the starting lineup, led the team with like 12 tackles. Um, it stinks for the Bengals. It's the same as Peyton Manning years with the Colts. When your starting quarterback goes down, you're screwed. It's over. Get ready for next year for them. And for the Ravens, I mean, they get the win here. We'll just never know what could have happened if Burrow stayed healthy because it looked like they had something cooking there.
Yeah, it's been a theme throughout the NFL. There's been a lot of quarterback injuries, and not just minor ones. We're talking like guys who are just out for the season. There's just been a ton of injuries. It sucks. I mean, everybody in the NFL, nobody wants to see it. It just makes everything feel a little less exciting.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow's, he's a top three quarterback, top two to me, and top five universally around pretty much any analyst will tell you that. So I mean, him going out is a huge ramification on probably the entire rest of the season for the playoff pictures because I don't think the Bengals are going to make the playoffs now. I honestly hope they don't because it'll be worth nothing because Jake Browning, or if they sign another QB, is not going to be able to lead them deep in the playoffs. With some of the other teams that have been playing poorly, like the Bills at times, the Ravens, they get Mark Andrews goes out in this game. He's going to be out for a while. He may be back for the playoffs. Um, it's looking more and more like it's going to be like the Chiefs by default, unless the Dolphins really step up their game or something of that nature. Some team in the AFC or Aaron Rodgers is magically healthy. It just makes the NFL a lot less fun because now it just seems like the AFC is kind of already all set in stone, which really sucks. But I mean, overall, yeah. I mean, it's hard to really analyze this game with Joe Burrow going down. It's we never know what's going to happen. I just hope he makes a speedy recovery. Say it shouldn't be anything lingering. He gets the surgery, he recovers. He should have hopefully just a normal off season. Um, that being said, it sucks for the Bengals. It's tough. You could say they could have invested more in a backup quarterback, but what you said, just like with Peyton Manning went down. Like, who the hell is your replacement going to be? Like, honestly, if your team is built around your quarterback, which it should be when you have a quarterback, at this talent level, what are you trying to compete for? I on it, maybe you can call it, wanting the tank sucks, and you're a bad fan. I mean, do I want the Bengals to win games? Yes, I'll root for them in games. But it's as a person who just knows how the wheel of the NFL works. Your quarterback goes down, like the Tony Romo year with the boys. They were able to get the fourth overall. They took Ezekiel Elliott. Stuff happens like that, and when you have a team with a franchise quarterback like that, especially going to have to pay, if an injury happens like that, getting the high draft pick can really help propel your team for the next couple of years because it's going to be tough if you're picking the end of the first round every year to try to keep getting talent and developing it to pretty much help your team immediately because you're always in the playoff hunt. So it stinks. There are some silver linings. I think it's time to evaluate a lot of a lot of the talent on the team. What is this defense really made of at this point? Um, are the young guys going to step up? Is the secondary going to take a step forward? Because I mean, if the defense keeps playing like they have over the last 2 weeks, Lou Anarumo is not going to be a head coach somewhere. That's just a guarantee right there. That defense needs to step up if they really want to be something. And Lou wants to ever get out of Cincinnati. He's going to have to put together a better defense than what they've seen. Obviously, grain of salt with everything that's happened. The defense hasn't been as good. Joe Burrow was banged up anyway. It just sucks because of what it could have been, but at the same time, I don't know. Is it better to get your heart stamped out now or stamped out in like the divisional round of the playoffs? You tell me. But the Ravens are pretty much going to win the AFC North now, in my mind, barring something crazy happening to Lamar.
Yeah, currently have the number one seed in the AFC as other results have kind of gone their way this past week. So that's good for the Ravens and for the Bengals. You're right, Cease. Like the Bengals are getting these end of the first round draft picks, and in whatever way that some are playing well, like Cam Taylor played solidly last year, he's playing very good this year for them. But they're end of the first round picks. Dax Hill didn't produce his first year. Miles Murphy didn't is not producing his first year this year. Maybe having a higher draft pick in a year where it's likely going to be used on the offense because we have Jonah Williams as a free agent. We have T. Higgins with an uncertain future. Maybe he gets franchise tagged. You can use that on one of the many good wide receivers or offensive tackles this year. That means something. Getting a last place schedule does mean something for next year because we're talking about the gauntlet of the schedule and all the next couple games are all 500 teams. That's not going to be the case next year if you get that fourth place schedule unless the league flips on its head, kind of like it has this year a little bit. But I think it might be a good thing to reset. They are screwed. They are the Peyton Manning Colts, where if your starting quarterback gets hurt, sorry, Jim Sorgi, you're not getting reps during the week. We need all those reps to go to Peyton Manning / Joe Burrow, and hopefully they figure it out. Hopefully they can move forward. And again, just one final thought here. I still think this injury, outside of this injury, it's okay. Like you said, they're kind of screwed either way. But I wish they would have put more into this team leading into the season. They had cap space to sign people. They could have had another pass rusher, a rotational pass rusher on a one-year deal. Jadeveon Clowney has a $10 million deal with the Ravens right now. We have $13 million in cap space. We could have gotten more depth on the offensive line or a left guard. We could have gotten more secondary help that is veterans. You don't need to have guys who are necessarily starting, but I would have liked to see the team go more all in when they have a chance because the Super Bowl window, partially due to Burrow's injuries, but also partially doing just rookie contracts, is starting to close down a little bit, and you want them to make the most of what they have. Hopefully they figure it out, use a lot of their cap room, kind of find a way to get some people who want to win championships and get them in the lineup because that would be the best case scenario for the future. All right, we'll move on to Sunday games. We have the Cowboys beating the Panthers 33-10. Cease, I got nothing on this one. The Cowboys are rolling. They look like one of the best teams in the league. That it seems like coming out of the byes the last couple of weeks really helped them. Think they're same thing for us though. I feel like for me it's like prove it to me against one of the top teams in the NFC, and then we can start talking. But for right now, I still think they're the third best team in the NFC, behind the 49ers and the Eagles, with the Lions being right there in that Cowboys range too.
Yeah, they're basically the Dolphins of the NFC. It feels like. I mean, they'll beat the heck out of a 500 or worse team. And they did that great. And I mean that's good. It's good to see since the bye week, Dak kind of come alive, be able to do more with the football, and really pass it downfield. CD Lamb's been playing really well. Not that he wasn't more. And Tony Pollard finally got back in the end zone this week after I think he's last time he scored was week one. I I think that was it. So I've lost a couple of bets because Tony Pollard hasn't gotten the end zone over the last 10 or so weeks. So I think I'm right. But ultimately, the Cowboys, it's a win. They're rolling. They're going to have another. That's going to be coming up. They just got to make sure they keep taking care of business when they do face the Eagles, because the Eagles doesn't look like they're going to lose many more games, if any, besides that one. They're going to have to stay right in tow with them if they want to have a shot to win that division. And more importantly, they win that division, there's a chance, depending on how the 49ers do as well, lost 3 straight, they could be number 1 seed. Mm-hmm. That's really the margin right now. You have the Lions out there as well as the 49ers, but there's a chance they could flip-flop with the Eagles and get the tiebreaker over them. They could get the number 1 seed, which is crazy as but every game counts. Good to see their offense get back together. I mean, the Panthers, Deron Bland, shout out to him. Another pick 6 ties the league record. I think he's a good chance of breaking it, knock on wood. And then, C.J. Stroud just continues to struggle, throw interceptions he shouldn't. And, it's painful to watch the Panthers, to be honest. Adam Thielen was great, but he was never a fast receiver. Now he is slow, man. And watching him and just going, this is your outside receiver is a rough go of it, and it's hard to really blame a rookie quarterback for forcing things and struggling when your offense looks like that.
Yeah, we're gonna. Cecil has lack of sleep, so he did call Bryce Young C.J. Stroud. Cecil's one of the original Stroud boys with me too, so it's not like he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a Stroud boy. But yeah, Panthers definitely need to fix some things. Cowboys, I like the note you said about Deron Bland. I hope he breaks the record. It's just cool. He was not projected to be a guy that was playing this much for this team. They have Stephon Gilmore. They have Trevon Diggs. And obviously they played him in the slot a little bit too, but he stepped it up. So awesome story for the Cowboys, and excited to see what they can do in the next couple weeks here. The Browns beat the Steelers 13-10 in one of the worst games of all time. Dorian Thompson-Robinson started for the Browns and did not look the greatest. Like, it looked like he had some potential still, but still very raw. So kind of wondering why they're going with him instead of picking up someone else or starting someone else. The Steelers lose this game. Their best player was Jalen Warren. He popped off a big run that gave him 129 yards and a touchdown. In this game, that was the only offense, and the Browns defense deserves some credit for that. And the Browns are 7-3; they're in a good spot to make the playoffs. We just have to see how DTR stands out the rest of the way. And the Steelers, after this game, finally fired Matt Canada. So now we're really going to know: is this Kenny Pickett's fault? Is it Matt Canada's fault? If you're asking me, Cease, I would say Kenny Pickett's a below-average quarterback, and Matt Canada was a bad offensive coordinator. So it might be a little bit of both.
Yeah, no one goes unscathed for the Steelers offense this year. I mean, Mike Tomlin, maybe not an offensive guy, but good Lord. I mean, the staff he put together on that side of the ball has not produced anything near an average result. So, honestly, because there's been some stuff, Tom Brady had some comments this week about how NFL's been kind of mediocre. And I mean, you look at this division, we're going into that Thursday night game, and people were talking about, man, the AFC North's the best division. Everyone has a winning record. All that stuff. The reality is, I mean, now, especially with Joe Burrow down, we got a bunch of teams that don't have offenses straight up. They have good defenses. The Bengals had a better, an offense and a decent defense. But now, I mean, we're looking at teams with good to decent defenses and just lack of offense completely now. So, and that's one of the best divisions in football. And that's pretty sad because, I mean, you go around the rest of the AFC, for example, I mean, it's just a mess. You got the Dolphins and Bills in the East. And then the South, you have the Texans surging with the Jaguars. And then it's just and the Chargers, you look at them in the West, are just an absolute dumpster fire. So it's a weird, it's not that there's not talent in the league. It's just the guys just aren't producing. They're not, putting points on the board like they feel like they used to. There's always recency bias as well, but it's been a weird, go so far between the injuries and just it seems like teams that should be good are just playing just pretty bad.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested to see how this AFC playoff picture works out. And you kind of mentioned it, Cease, but like the Bills aren't very good. Do we get a Browns playoff game? I don't want to watch that. I really don't. Do we get a Steelers playoff game? I don't want to watch that either. So hopefully things get figured out here. In the last couple of weeks. It's still a lot of time before the playoffs. We still have, a month and a half of football before we get to the playoffs. But it's, again, very boring game, and it's not like a good, the defense for the Browns was good. It's not like this was like an elite defense game where everyone's things getting shut down. It's just bad when you see the bad offense. For the Browns, obviously, the quarterback situation plays a factor. For the Steelers, quarterback and offensive coordinator. And I am interested to see how things go for them moving forward and see if that changes because Matt Canada did not use the middle of the field a lot, and that's Kenny Pickett doesn't have the strongest arm to be throwing outside the numbers a lot, so we'll see how things change. It's going to be a lot of different changes over the last several weeks of the season with all these injuries. All right, so the next game we have, Detroit Lions beat the Bears 31-26. Now, they had to come back in this one, Cease. It was, the Bears, I thought, had this game pretty much won. They just needed to get a first down on offense. They were unable to do so, and the Lions come back. I think they needed a lot of credit for Justin Fields coming back and rushing for 104 yards. They're finally starting to use him like he should be used with 18 carries on the day, and it worked out. I mean, they were competitive in this game at least against a team that's one of the best in the NFC that we just talked about. And for the Lions, Jared Goff, number one PFF quarterback this year, does the same thing he's always been doing. He has one good game or maybe two good games, and then he has a stinker and he has 3 interceptions. But at the end of the day, he led him on the touchdown drive to win the game. I think that's something to note of why maybe the Lions' ceiling isn't like NFC Championship game level, but it's a fun team still. It's just that they might need to have Jared Goff prove that he can do it again like he did back with the Rams, which is obviously a different situation. So,
Yeah, this Lions team with the weapons they have on offense and defense has really stepped up this year as well. I mean, it lies solely on Jared Goff. And I'll tell you this: with good teams, we go, are they real? Are they frauds? The Lions. I'll give them this. There are weeks. It's a long season. It's a divisional game, and they came out flat, and they were getting beat up for most of the game. But good teams will be able to pull it together by the end and get a win, and that's what they did. And as much as you could use this, they almost lost to the Bears against them. At this point in the season, there's going to be some fluky things that happen just because people are, tired. They're looking forward to the next game, that's a bigger rivalry or bigger thing for them. And, hats off to them to not just let the game slip by them because there are teams out there that have good talent that, are favored in a game to start. And then they get the, wheels beat off them and that they just kind of go into the field position and let the other team win. The Lions continue to fight. It wasn't pretty by any means, but like you said, Jared Goff was able to get the game-winning drive at the end. Now you won't be able to get a hole like that in the playoffs, probably, but yeah, I mean, the Lions get the win and they come from behind to do it after having a not so stellar beginning. They're one of the healthiest teams in the NFL right now, so they have that going for them for a playoff run. It's just, again, it's hard to really say these guys are going to the Super Bowl because it really is just, it's hard to say their golf with anything. I mean, he is Jekyll and Hyde. He's inconsistent, and I think he has all the talent to do it. It's not a talent factor. It's just he makes poor decisions, and sometimes he just is not willing to take the hit in the pocket. I don't know if that's a fair thing. You're not willing to get hit out there, but there are way too many times that I see him in the backfield where there's a lot of guys coming at him that he doesn't try to really roll out. He doesn't really try to do anything. He kind of just up. It's like, at least try to throw it away, do something. It just looks really bad when you watch it on TV and you watch him just kind of, oh, that play doesn't work, and he just basically is falling to the ground and just not trying to really do much anything. But this team's going to go as far as Jared Goff, and I'm that's far for their sakes because I think Dan Campbell and I think the GM of the Lions, I think the coaching staff has worked really hard. I think all the players have too to get to this point, despite everything that has gone wrong for pretty much since the dawn. This seems like the modern NFL. So, I mean, I want them to do well. I hope for the best, and I hope it's not Jared Goff having just this off two interception game where he just forces dumb passes that cost them an early exit in the playoffs.
Yeah, in a weird way, it kind of shows the differences in the two leagues here because I think if the Lions are in the AFC, it's a different ball game because the top teams in the AFC struggle with pass rushing, right? Like the Chiefs have a better defense, but the pass rush still isn't the greatest. The Bills don't have the greatest pass rush, even Von Miller's being back and everything. The Bengals have struggled with pass rush. I know this is the preseason favorites and things change, but NFC, if you have to get through the NFC playoffs and Jared Goff has some issues with pressure or moving out of the pocket, they're going up against the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Cowboys, who all have great pass rushes. So it might be like, hey, AFC, maybe they get to the AFC Championship game this year because that's just how the league's set up. NFC, it's a lot different of a ball game, a lot different league. It's almost like the old, baseball days where there's different rules for different leagues, and you have to play the All-Star game in the World Series to figure out who's better. It's just one of those things. So I wish the Lions the best of luck moving forward. I think we're a big Dan Campbell podcast here and hope they can figure it out, but they definitely need to figure something out and have more stability, whether that's just making sure Jared Goff's protected or making sure he's making the right decisions or both. So we'll have to keep tabs on that moving forward. And for the Bears, they're going to have a lot of picks to use. That'll be fun. All right, Packers beat the Chargers 23-20. Jordan Love plays pretty good, 322 yards and 2 touchdowns. Very good for him to get back on the right track. The GM had been kind of non-committal about his future, which is kind of weird because they just turned the whole thing over to him less than, I guess this is 10 games in, but the comments were made a couple weeks ago. I will say Brandon Staley's on the hot seat right now after losing this game. It's a game they probably should have won. They were favored on the road. Justin Herbert, I thought, played well. I think people are maybe overblowing the choke thing because he had so many drops. We were watching when Quentin Johnson dropped the one down the sideline, and some people are saying, oh, he put it a little bit too far out there. Do you know how hard it is to throw a football with that precision to get it even where the guy has to reach out his hands like this for the camera? That's so freaking tough. So I do think Justin Herbert needs to prove it in the future. But like a lot of times he's being let down too. And if you start with the head coach maybe having struggles over his career with these one possession games where they are 0-5 this year, it's not always on the quarterback. I do think he needs to play better, but at the same time, he played fine in this game, and they scored just 20 points and lost to the freaking Packers on the road.
Yeah, I mean there were a lot of drops in this game. They were all over the place. Justin Herbert didn't have a fantastic game, but it wasn't. Justin Herbert didn't lose in this game. Their defense lost in this game. They're going up against Jordan Love and the Packers offense that, honest to God, I mean, Aaron Jones is the best part, and he's been unhealthy all year, and then he goes, sprains his MCL and gets carted off the field, basically. Um, you can't beat that. You can't beat like the random young receivers, Romeo Dobbs and Kristen Watson, who have done absolutely nothing this year. I mean, it's Brandon Staley should already be fired. It's just really that simple. I don't know what else ownership needs to see. There really isn't anything. There's nothing telling me the Chargers are going to turn the season around. I think this is it. Like I think it's a little too late. Maybe they're going to have to pretty much win almost every game to really make the playoffs at this point, because they're not going to win the West, and the wild cards are not going to be that easy to get through, especially with head start everybody else has on them. Maybe Justin Herbert gets fully healthy. His non-throwing hand heals up more, so he doesn't have to wear that stupid brace on his hand. But I mean, the problems aren't Justin Herbert not being able to get passes. It's receivers can't catch balls. Austin Eckler really didn't get going in this game, which is just weird considering the Packers are not a good defense at all. And then, the defense, I mean, Joey Bosa got hurt, sure. But, I mean, everyone else in the defense is just doing nothing right now. They're just doing a whole lot of nothing against a team who really is not tough to beat. They just kind of packed it in, and Justin Herbert tried to do his best, come behind fourth quarter Joe Montana impersonation, and he doesn't have Jerry Rice catching the ball, so it makes it hard.
Absolutely. Cecil, you mentioned Austin Eckler. We were watching that game too. We saw Austin Eckler get chased down from behind by a linebacker. He looked like he was moving at such a slow pace. He's maybe just not the same as he was, but really couldn't get it going against this defense. And again, it all hurt. And I expect in the next couple of weeks we might see a coaching change if they get eliminated from the playoffs, if they lose one or two more games. It's just the guy started off so hot, and then it went down south so quickly last year and then even this year that it's going to be hard to get that back. And a lot of times you need to make these moves. Mentioning in a conversation with one of my buddies, like next year, Zach Taylor doesn't go past the divisional round. Maybe the Bengals need to make a move because the Super Bowl window is only so wide, especially Chargers are in a similar situation in that they have a rookie quarterback deal right now, and they're paying him more in the future after this year, after the next 2 years, I should say. But, you need to make sure you maximize the playoff window, maximize when you have these guys, and they're in a different situation where they're ready to fire their guy, and the Bengals might have that in the future. It's just a similar type of thing. So, hopefully
Other big question with the Chargers.
Yeah.
What is the weather factor here? Is it just because, I mean, they're all professionals, right? You think at this point these guys have played at different places throughout their careers. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that cold in Green Bay, but it's windy and miserable. I mean, are these guys just not built for it? Like, is it something you think that the Chargers need to figure out to address somehow? Because, I mean, I don't know what it is, but, that worries me too, that this team seems to, every year it starts to get a little colder ever since Philip Rivers basically left. And this team just starts to kind of plummet. And, I mean, there's nowhere to plummet from this time, but I mean, I don't know. We got to keep these guys in Iowa for, last 2 months of the season and just toughen them up, or I don't know. But, it seems like they go to these cold climates and it just, the defense just doesn't wake up. They just get crushed.
I'm with you. I think it might be that, but also I think with the colder weather, since we always talk about the running game, they obviously run the ball okay with Austin Eckler over the last several years, but they can't stop the run, and they refuse to really put too much effort into finding guys who can't stop the run. Every year in our mock drafts that we do and everything, our draft specials, we always talk about, let's get a defensive tackle that can plug the run. Let's get a nose tackle. Let's get a linebacker who can chase down running backs, and they just never do. And it's when the going gets tough at the end of the year, you need to be able to stop the run. They just don't want to do that. So they're kind of doing things, self-inflicting wounds here with the way they run their organization too. All right, the next one up, we have the Dolphins beating the Raiders 20-13. This was one where we were both heavily leveraged on Devin Achan playing in this game. He goes in and runs like 3 times and gets hurt again. Hoping for the best. It seems like he's questionable this week so far. It was the same injury that he had that put him on IR that he just came back from. Tyreek Hill had a big day. Tua had a pretty good day. Did throw an interception. The Dolphins won. They eased their way to a win. They went up early and didn't have to do too much in the second half. And the Raiders, they're just limited with what they can do with Aiden O'Connell at quarterback. They're fighting hard with Antonio Pierce in as head coach these last several weeks, and it's good for them that they kept it within a touchdown. They're just, even if things got tough, I feel like the Dolphins would have just hit the gas pedal more. They would have won either way. So good win for the Dolphins, just to make sure they get the win there. But for the Raiders, it's good fight, good try.
Right. I mean, Chain going out after like 2 minutes hurts immensely, and you can get Twitter and just Google it and just Twitter his name or X. Just search it on X, I guess, and you'll see a lot of people begging sports books all over the nation to avoid their bets. Good luck with that. You should know that anytime you put a player prop in, player props can be easier to hit, yes, but the reality too, and the advantage that Vegas has over you is that, and especially in the NFL of all sports, people get hurt all the time for no reason, especially at running back. So you got to know that going in. That's why I don't bet the house on it. You just bet and you have a good time, and you hope you win, and you hope that a guy sitting on IR and designated to return, and then you deactivate your running back Jeff Wilson. You think maybe he's more than 60% healthy, so it's okay. I'm not mad about it. It wouldn't have hit anyway because Monster didn't really get much going either.
Nope.
I mean, I'll give it to the Raiders. They really did. They lost, but they impressed me in how they lost. Because this Raiders team 3 weeks ago, they would have lost by probably 20 to 30 points. Just pack it. Devontae Adams actually gets involved in the game. So does Josh Jacobs to a certain point. Not as much in this one, but I mean, guys are getting the ball. Michael Mayer is starting to get a little bit of a role in this offense, which is great for them. But yeah, I mean, give it to the interim head coach, give it to the Raiders to show some fight. And you never know. That fight could cause them to win a game they probably shouldn't against a playoff team. It could have huge ramifications at the end of the season. So, the Raiders are not going to make the playoffs, obviously, but watch out for them. They're a team that's fighting, and a team that's showing fight for an interim head coach can be dangerous down the stretch, especially when you're tired after a long season, and somebody overlooks them. They come to play, and that's important.
So the last time the Raiders had an interim coach, they played hard down the stretch, made the playoffs. They got rid of the interim coach, and then they hired McDaniels, and that didn't really work out. So my thing is, hey, if Antonio Pierce finishes out the season pretty strong, maybe they're around 500 with everything that's gone on, the quarterback change, starting Aiden O'Connell, give them a look to stay, please. Like, this has been, they're not doing great football. They don't have the pieces to do that. They're not scoring a lot of points every game. The defense is playing better. I think he understands how to get the most out of what he has been given. Just give him a look, just see what he does. Don't just go like, hey, let's go hire Josh McDaniels for the third time, or let's go hire, I don't know, Charlie Weiss. Let's give Charlie Weiss another run. Let's not give these guys that have been over and done with another chance. We'll give a guy that's actually done something right there in front of you. So my only thing I'll say, and the Dolphins, we're same spot with them that I think we were before. Beat a good team, prove it to us first, but all these other teams, they'll win those games and be fine. Next one up, we have the Giants beating the Commanders 31-19. The Giants get the season sweep over the Commanders. They have 3 wins on the season, 2 of them over the Commanders. The Tommy DeVito train is leaving the station. He had a couple bad games in a row where they weren't even letting him throw. They let him throw it around the yard a little bit this game. He showed out pretty good. The Commanders, on the other hand, we knew that at some point trading away those players would get maybe have an effect. They actually pressured the quarterback still pretty well. Pressured the quarterback pretty well. Tommy DeVito, I think, got sacked like 9 times in this game. I'll have to double check that stat. Sam Howell threw 3 interceptions. That really did something. And after the game, they had Deonte Banks, the corner that was drafted by the Giants, who's from the Maryland area, and went to Maryland, say, man, you guys could have had me. You took, without saying it, implied, hey, you guys took Emmanuel Forbes instead of me, and now we've beaten you twice. So I love the trash talk from 2 teams who are out of the playoff picture and all that. But, 2 bad teams, but it was cool to see Tommy DeVito do something in this one, Cease.
It was fun to watch Tom. That could probably save his career just that game, honestly, because it wasn't looking great up to that point. But I mean, this is what we talked about with the Commanders. They can look good at times. They honestly do. Reason if it's the Philadelphia Eagles, they'd probably be 9-8 this year. But they play other teams, and the Giants, inversely, they cannot beat. They're a Jekyll and Hyde team. I mean, I think the writing's on the wall for the coaching staff. I think Ron Rivera realizes he's a lame duck coach. Doesn't really matter. He's not coming back. New ownership. It's not like they've been honestly Ron Rivera. Unfortunately, as much as the adversity he's had personally, outside of football, overcoming cancer, all that, it's a great story. But when it comes to his tenure as Commanders head coach, they have done nothing. They've accomplished really. It's a sad, sad place to be. He had a good time with the Panthers, at his peak with Cam Newton and everything. But since that point, some coaches unfortunately just don't have it and can't keep up with the way the league is moving. And Ron Rivera isn't a bad coach by any means, but I think it wasn't the right situation. They never had a quarterback either, which that's hard to really. Or it's more of a front office problem. And yeah, it's never been a good situation. Hasn't been a good situation, honestly, for the Commanders since RG3 got hurt and they decided that they weren't going to go back to him, and Kirk Cousins was going to be their middling quarterback from that point forward. So, question marks abound what this organization is doing, what their goal for the future is. All you can hope is new leadership, especially with a lot of new money that can invest in the team, and more importantly, just the facilities around the actual team itself to make them better. Maybe the future looks up for the Commanders. It's just unfortunate for all the players and coaches that have kind of spent the last 5 years there to know that they're never going to probably see any of that.
Unfortunately, you're right. The best thing about these teams is that they can reset this offseason. They can go draft someone better at quarterback or whatever they have plans for. For the Giants, you're going to be paying a $40 million quarterback to sit on the bench at this rate with the way things are going. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe Tommy DeVito becomes the new Tom Brady or something. That'd be kind of fun. All right, Jaguars beat the Titans 34-14. Blowout pretty much from the start. Trevor Lawrence seemed like he had a better game. Calvin Ridley had an incredible game, 103 yards and 2 touchdowns just out of nowhere. There's a lot of stats that you can see when Zay Jones plays. Calvin Ridley has a better game, I guess, because attention is being shown to more receivers across the board. Titans, we kind of knew what they were coming in. They can't get anything going on the ground for Derrick Henry. The offensive line has issues. Jaguars needed to get back on track after that big loss to the 49ers, and now they are in contention for that number 1 seed in the AFC 2 seeds.
Yeah, I mean, the Jaguars, they fired back after a string of very thrilling games. So it's good. I mean, they beat the Bills already. If the Bengals aren't fair, it's really hard to say. The Ravens, the Jaguars have pretty much, I'll put it this way. The Jaguars have just as much a chance of playing the Chiefs as anybody else in the AFC does. That's really how it's shaken out. Is that for a potential Super Bowl run? It's hard to say. It's hard to trust teams that are inconsistent. But, there's one thing I could say about the AFC this year. It is inconsistency. So, really, depending on how the Chiefs bounce back and how they play down the stress, I might throw them in the same hat and just pick a name out of the 7 who make the playoffs and just body as Super Bowl contender. So, that's really where we're at. Titans is a team that just is sucked most of the year, and then they have 1 or 2 games they actually played really well. And those games they played really well in, guess what the key thing has been? It can't be Will Levis because they played more well even without Will Levis before. What's the key, Joe?
Running the football, probably.
That's it, 100%. Derrick Henry is still on that team. Despite, the Titans, best attempts to just basically pretend Derrick Henry doesn't exist for halves of games sometimes. He is still there. He's not hurt to any injury report. There's nothing saying that he's not. I don't know when he would have gotten hurt because he's to be buried on the field for the Titans. And yeah, what they're doing with him. I get their situation. Run as much, but Jesus, it's the first quarter and Derrick Henry barely ever sees the field. If you have Derrick Henry, If that's what you're going to do, please trade him to somebody. Please cut him. Please let him go somewhere in the world where he can actually do something with the rest of his career. As little, who knows how much time that is left. But what I'm seeing the Titans do to Derrick Henry game in and game out is just frustrating to me, and that's definitely not what he signed up for either.
Definitely not. I'd love to see him on a different team and someone who's going to be able to use his talents. So some of it's the offensive line. If you look at the advanced stats, he's actually doing okay still as like a running back with the missed tackle rate and everything. So not his fault. I mean, if you can get the lead early and just use the game script to your advantage too, that would be really good. And Jaguars. We'll see. I don't know how I can buy into you. I'm like you. I don't know how much I can buy into what they're doing, how much I can believe in them in the playoffs. But they're a young team, so hopefully they figure it out and can get things rolling. Next game up, we have the Texans beating the Cardinals 21-16. This game, C.J. Stroud maybe have more of a gunslinger mentality. He'd been protecting the football for the first 9 games of the season for the most part. He throws 3 interceptions, but he also throws for 336 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cecil, your guy, Tank Dell, 8 catches for 149 yards and a touchdown was a big day. And Devin Singletary was able to run the ball too. This was a good performance by Kyler Murray to kind of keep things close, but the Texans are the better team, which is just kind of still shocking to say, honestly.
It is, and honestly, the AFC window, I'd say, guys that are in playoff spots or trying to make the playoffs, they don't have a quarterback. The Texans, I can say they do. Now, obviously, 2 weeks before, he played better than he did in this week because he was throwing some balls he shouldn't throw. And, that will be corrected, I think, in practice and in the film room this week. I think they'll go, I know you've been doing really well, but you can't get away with you've been doing well. And you can't just start forcing the ball downfield because you think you can do it. These are still NFL caliber teams. You still got to make the right reads, and you got to know when you can't throw it into triple coverage. You just don't do it. Don't ever do it. I don't understand why you do that. Because if you're a quarterback, I mean, looking down a guy and staring some guy down who's clearly almost covered by 2 to 3 people means there's somebody else out who's almost not covered at all or is, it has an advantage somewhere. And you got to be smart enough. You got to trust yourself. He's mobile enough to, buy himself some time to find who that guy is. So don't rush to conclusions. I know you want the big pass. It looks great. It looks awesome. He's getting a lot of talk. He was getting talk about the MVP. I'm sure he listens to that as well. And I think, he tried to really just see how elite, kind of show off what he can really do. And, sometimes you just got to sit back and let the defense dictate, what you're going to do on that play. You're going to get positive yards. You're going to drive down the field. The highlight plays all look great, but, you got to not turn over the football. You got to take care of it. And, if it's long sustaining drives, that's fine. And you'll be the ones winning because the other team will run out of time. So, to try to do that to C.J. Stroud, I think throughout they're going to try to prolong drives now, try to make him be the one who makes the mistake because he is young and he will force it sometimes. So, much as the hill for the MVP vote, Stroud went up a week ago against the Bengals. Kind of came back down a little bit after those interceptions this week. He's going to win Rookie of the Year probably. MVP, maybe he gets an MVP vote. He's not going to win MVP by any means, not at this rate. It's kind of just a little too late in the season, and you can't put up a game like that, and then you're going to have to do something over the last couple of weeks. And you're going to have to beat the Jaguars and win the division if you want any shot. So good for C.J. Stroud. They still get the win. He'll fix them mechanically, and it's really just going to. We got 2 games against the Jaguars still. They're still out there. They still have not played each other, and it's week 12. So, again, the NFL scheduling, I go, who did this? Why? Why have 2 divisional teams not played each other? I mean, the Bengals, this will be the first time they play the Steelers all year, and then they're going to play them again, I think, in a week. There's going to be a week in between, and they play again. So, this, apparently, it's nobody now. If Amazon led you to believe, it's just the Amazon Web Services. They make everything. The NFL is actually run by Amazon.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if a certain owner of Amazon ends up buying an NFL team here soon. Maybe that'll give us some clues away. But you're right, Cecil. I think maybe this game, it's fortunate to happen in a win for them, but it's a lesson to C.J. Stroud. moving forward, he can protect the football better and just kind of maybe, I don't want to say, I don't think he got like too big for his britches, but like maybe humble him a little bit, just a little, just make sure that he's focusing on protecting the football a little bit. And you're right, Texans have a lot to play for in front of them. Really big fan of D'Amico Ryans as well on the list for Coach of the Year, as well as CJ Stroud is for Rookie of the Year. All right, the Buccaneers are still in play in the NFC South even after this loss, but the 49ers are just a buzzsaw right now. 27-14 win over the Buccaneers. Now this was kind of close at the end. There was a chance for the Buccaneers to come back. Cecil, I know you had some money on certain parlays you were really hoping for. But overall, this is nothing we didn't expect in this game. I think the 49ers needed that bye more than anyone. They're on fire since the bye. We noted how important Trent Williams is to this team. They're just a different team when he's playing. They can win the Super Bowl if Trent Williams is playing. If he's not playing, then they become a team that's much more 500.
100%. And they got all their weapons back too. Deebo Samuels is back. But, I mean, Brock Purdy throwing for over 300 yards in this game. A lot of that was on that giant pass to Brandon Ayuk touchdown. Every offensive weapon on the 49ers is getting their turn to do something in this game. And really, they have been the whole season. They're all getting involved. Kyle Shanahan's doing a great job of making sure everybody is involved in this offense. That nobody is really just sitting there unused all game. It keeps the other guys fresh. And, Brock Purdy very well. I don't know what to really say about it. It's, you can only go so long in a season without saying maybe Brock Purdy's just a good, decent to good NFL quarterback. Now, you take him away from Kyle Shanahan, I don't know. It's hard to judge at this point, but he's good for the 49ers, and that's all that really matters at this point. You can argue what his talent is outside. We may never know. We didn't know with Tom Brady for years, and turned out it was just Tom. Maybe Brock Purdy's amazing. Maybe Brock Purdy's Tom Brady. Probably not. But we are a good team right now, and he is the conductor of a pretty good offense. He doesn't throw up. He doesn't throw interceptions really. He doesn't, make bad mistakes. And again, like to see them play from behind and get a victory that way. That's why I really go, this is the team to beat in the NFC. But I mean, they get ahead of you, you're screwed. That's just really it. After that, it's just like an absolute ass kicking. Because you won't be able to keep up with every weapon. I mean, it's hard to really take account. When you got probably on every play, you've got 4 playmakers that could do anything with the ball at any time between Christian McCaffrey, Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and half those guys are receivers or can run the football. Good luck. And I mean, it's hard to beat. And you got Trent Williams that's just going to beat the hell out of you on the offensive line. So, yeah, 49ers are a really good team. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I mean, Baker is doing a great job with I'm going to talk what happens. He's been excelling at it the entire year. Mike is come alive this year again after last year was a little less than stellar. Been some stats floating around this week about why Mike Evans gets no love, and it is true. He does have pretty much – I saw this one. He has pretty much as many yards and pretty much close to the same touchdown numbers as Devontae Adams and 100 last receptions. So, I mean, that guy catches the deep ball. I'll tell you that. I mean, if you're tossing it up, he's one of the best big play receivers out there. And he doesn't get the credit sometimes because he is not the fastest guy. And he can pull that in. So, good for him. The Bucs lose again. Greatest $4 million ever spent on a quarterback, probably in NFL history, on a non-rookie contract, besides maybe Kurt Warner. So,
yeah, I was about to say that. I think he's the most worth it guy on a contract that is not a rookie deal in the NFL by far. It's literally the quarterback position and everything. And Mike Evans, he's 7th ranked fantasy receiver in standing scoring formats. Just throwing it out there, very good player. He's done it before with whatever quarterbacks come in. He's produced. I think it might give the more games they win. I mean, Baker could save his job for next year with all this quarterback draft stuff. They could make the playoffs. They lost a game to the Falcons at home they should have won. They usually win the games that they should win, right? Like, they're losing games to the 49ers, sure. But they win the games they should win. They have a couple easy games coming up. They could be right back in the playoff picture. So for the Buccaneers, there is some hope coming up. And the 49ers, they are who we thought they were. They just needed that bye, needed Trent Williams healthy. The Bills beat the Jets 32-6. This is a lot of things to talk about here. Ken Dorsey was fired, and new offensive coordinator. They do fine. They scored a decent amount of points, but they were also aided by the Jets' offense. Zach Wilson had an awful day. He ends up getting benched for Tim Boyle, and that benching is now permanent. He's not even the backup anymore. They said Trevor Siemian's the backup, so they're going in a different direction. I'm not sure that really solves a lot of the issues. Tim Boyle did not look great either, and it's a lot of offensive line issues as well. So not like Zach Wilson did not play well, but I think if you don't have guys like Aaron Rodgers back there, it may be like you can't put all the blame on the quarterback again, like we said earlier for Herbert, but like it was good for the Bills to get on the right track. We'll put that first, and then number two, Jets making the quarterback change. Maybe they should have acquired one instead of just sticking with Zach Wilson and then going to Tim Boyle.
Not to worry, don't you worry. Soon enough, and the miracle all signs turn. So the Jets are just bad. I mean, that's it. I mean, their defense great, offense. I mean, you literally can't get your three in your drive. Wilson completes of more than 10. Really, the best thing to do is just run the ball after he realizes he can't make any throws. So we'll see how Timmy Boyle does. I mean, Timmy Boyle's college stats, for those who have looked them up, are absolutely dreadful. I don't even know how he's really in the NFL. Say he a friend of Aaron Rodgers, which I'm like, that was probably a good move on his part, probably the best decision he could have made. And yeah, he's middling, and I mean, I don't even think you can call him middle. There's really nothing positive, and God bless Tim Doyle. I'm sure, or Tim Boyle. I guess he's probably a great guy. I have nothing against him. I hope he does well, but I think the Jets are going to see. It's not just Zach sucks. I think it's just their whole quarterback room outside Aaron Rodgers does. I'm surprised Trevor Siemian hasn't. And this is another thing that's a little concerning, is that Trevor Siemian hasn't been able to really cement himself as a better backup. I mean, the guy has actually started NFL games.
Yeah.
He played for the Broncos. He had a decent career at Northwestern. Why is he suddenly still not able to really ascend to the starting QB? I mean, Trevor Siemian's been in the building for a while now. If he's not ready, I don't know how Tim Boyle's better than Trevor Siemian. So we will see. I don't know what the conspiracy. Maybe Aaron Rodgers has found some kind of magic mud to put on his Achilles. I don't know. Has he lied to all of us about his Achilles injury? I don't know the grand plan. I just feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop for this magic ending to the New York Jets that will definitely turn out like most Jets seasons, where everything blows up in the end as it looks like a complete dysfunctional mess.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers says that he's targeting a December 2nd return. So we'll see. That's going to be a pretty fast turnaround for an Achilles, but maybe it's like, hey, you guys can just remove my Achilles entirely after this season. I just need it for like a couple months here. But again, even Aaron Rodgers back there, well, the offensive line's still going to be not great. So we'll see what happens. All right, next.
Is there any medical way this happened? Like, is there any medical way this could have happened to Aaron Rodgers? Like, did they not really diagnose it correctly? Like, how the hell is this even remotely possible?
Because he's listening to Dolphins Mate, and that apparently is the healing thing. That's what he says.
That's the magic.
That's all it's going to take. All right, the Rams beat the Seahawks 17-16. Now, this was a game where the Seahawks looked like they were going to win it, but then Kenneth Walker went down with an injury. Zach Charbonnet did fine and everything in place of him. Then Geno Smith went down with injury, and he sat out for a couple of possessions. Drew Lock came in. They really didn't have anything going, and the Rams capitalized on that. But then Geno Smith came back in the game for the last drive of the game, which makes you wonder, why didn't he just play the other drives too? Because he looked good. I know his right arm was hurt, and that's obviously important to a quarterback when you're a right-handed quarterback. But if he was good enough to come back, after a quarter of sitting out or whatever it was, what's that look like? I have no idea. So it looks like one that got away from the Seahawks. The Rams get the win, and Seahawks have a short week this week, so we'll have to keep tabs on Geno Smith's injury. But just a kind of a perplexing thing there. If he was healthy enough to play late in the fourth quarter, he could have played theoretically early in the fourth quarter after he left, I believe, in the third quarter at some point.
Yeah, that adds up. But yeah, it was a head scratcher. There is a weird question. I guess it was the importance. Medical staff said you shouldn't go back in, and then he just went to hell with it. I mean, we're gonna lose this game if I don't. A lot of questions about that with Geno Smith, but yeah, the Seahawks just, I mean, it didn't get anything going, and it has been a career. Sean McVay versus Pete Carroll. Sean McVay is owned Pete Carroll now. Pretty much in almost every meeting, he beats him, and he beats him regardless of how good the team is, almost. So Pete Carroll needs to do better. I think it's game playing. I think it's coaching. Obviously, the Seahawks had some unfortunate injuries happen, but the Rams are not a great team that you can't beat if you have a player to go down, even with that being your quarterback. So, I mean, they were winning it till the end, and Cooper Kupp went down in this game too. So.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Seahawks injuries? I mean, Cooper Kupp got hurt. I mean, and he's their offensive star. I mean, Puka Nacua has done well this year, but they don't have their starting running back. They don't have their top receiver. I mean, they're down Puka Nacua and like Tyler Higbee and Tutu Atwell. So you tell me, you let them score. You have the lead in the fourth quarter. You're the ones that let up a game-winning drive by them. That's on the Seahawks. That's not really just because Geno Smith got hurt. It's because, I mean, their defense couldn't stop the Rams, who not done anything when it mattered most.
Definitely. We'll go into the Sunday night game, Cease. A fun one in the attack that we had, hired by Creed, fueling the Vikings. What seemed like the first half of the game, even a little bit into the second half, the Pastronaut Josh Jobs had a pretty good first half, had him rolling. And then the end of the game, Denver scores 12 fourth quarter points and ends up winning the game to continue their hot streak. They're looking like they could be a playoff team. They look like Sean Payton's figured things out a little bit, and the animosity maybe that we sensed or saw between Sean Payton and Russell Wilson is calming down a little bit now. I don't know what's going on. This NFL season has been pretty crazy already. These two teams are kind of like the two that are the most confusing, where the Vikings started off poorly, the Broncos started off poorly, they figured it out. The Vikings obviously overcoming the injury to Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. More crazy than maybe the Broncos figuring it out, but it's all just craziness.
Yeah, it really is. We're talking about two teams that can make the playoffs that 3 weeks ago I would have been like, good. I'll take your bet. Like, whatever you want, man. Like, how much money you want to pay me, I'll take it. Mm-hmm. But now, miraculously, Josh Dobbs just will not quit. I mean, that and will get shipped anywhere, and he'll still fight. He still uses his legs. He's able to bail out of plays that most guys wouldn't. One of the biggest things, honestly, that I see in the games he needs to fix is when he's about to get sacked, trying to like throw the ball up to somebody. I think that is a major problem that didn't really much at all, but it's going to come up in the NFL. That's going to be a pick six somewhere, and he needs to clean that up. Just throw the ball away. He's a valiant effort of pretty much making plays out of nothing. With the receiving core. TJ Hawkinson had a decent game. The other receivers didn't really have the best, but they really did get both Madison and Ty Chandler involved in the running game a lot. So, I mean, again, like the Vikings pretty much could win the 7th seed by default at this point. There's no real contender seeming to appear for the 7th seed. So, it's kind of with so many games left and just seeing, I don't think anybody else in the NFC really wants it. So we'll probably get that. The Broncos are putting on their best, don't forget about us. And basically what they did and what part of this turnaround could be is I think Russell Wilson and Sean Payton have kind of figured some stuff out. And more importantly, I think after that Dolphins game where they just got beat so bad, they just jettisoned a lot of older guys. A lot of guys that, you can say what it is, but, the veteran guys have been through enough seasons and you see stuff like that happen and you think you can kind of going to be good or bad if you played so many seasons in the NFL. You kind of let that dictate the rest of the year. So they cut those guys, save a little money, trade them away, get what you can for them, and let some young guys, you think somebody who can fill the role play, let them play. And honestly, those young guys have really done really good on their defense. They're generating a pass rush. They're there. They're playmakers, and we'll see how that translates to an NFL career for him. But I mean, they basically got rid of a bunch of kind of older vets who were kind of phoning it in. It feels like for a bunch of younger guys that how talented are they really? I don't know, but they have a high motor and they're flying around and wanting to play football.
Hey, that's sometimes the best people right there. High motor
Right.
loves playing football. That's what we love. So, again, just for the rest of the season, whatever happens to these teams, whatever the ability to bounce back has been good. We'll see how they finish out. Maybe one, maybe both make the playoffs. Could be an interesting story for the NFL. Cease, we had the Kelsey Bowl on Monday. We had the Super Bowl rematch. The Eagles win it 21-17. It looked like it wasn't going to happen. 17-7 at half. Chiefs were winning. They looked like they were doing pretty well. Kelsey got a touchdown, Pacheco was running the ball well. Second half, it's raining pretty hard. The Eagles are pretty much just running the ball and throwing screens the whole time. And they cut the lead a little bit, and then they go take the lead. They finally throw a pass deep to Devontae Smith, gets it down to the one. Tush push into the end zone. This was a weird situation too because the Chiefs had chances to go for it on fourth down. I think it was like 4th and 4 on the 39-yard line, so they could have just gone for it instead of punting, and they got 18 yards of field position or something like that. They were not aggressive. I know it was raining. I know the conditions changed things. Andy Reid not being aggressive really surprised me in that regard. And now the Chiefs are going on like 4 straight weeks without a second half touchdown. So it was a game the Chiefs definitely should have won, given that they were up at the half by 10 points. But they let it slip away based on decision making and just not being able to get the ball moving.
Absolutely. This was a great unders bet for everybody. I almost did a lot of passing stats until I looked at the weather report. Always look at the weather report, everybody. 100%, it will save you so much money. And I scrapped that bet and just started throwing down unders on passing stats for everybody, pretty much. So that did hit. I believe the over under at the time was, I think it was 48 and a half. So I think we got 48 points. So right under. Me, I love teasing that up a little bit. I'm a big tease guy.
We got 38, buddy. 38 points.
Oh, I got him at 52 somehow. So I
Woo!
must have. That's right. It was 48 and a half the night before. I looked at the weather report. I took an extra 3 points, and here we go, baby. That's right. It's called being on top of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or your Sunday didn't go very well, and you're doing exactly what Kurt Warner warned you not to do, right? Chasing your loss.
Yeah.
But God bless, it worked out this time because scary doesn't make money, folks. But anyway, back to the game. Yeah, I mean, I think the rain obviously played a factor for a lot of these guys. That was very clear. Um, and I mean, it's hard to really say situationally what would have happened if it was a little bit better weather, but both these teams play in harsh conditions. Kansas City and Philadelphia, especially this time of year, is not an easy place to play. Either way, the weather is going to be unforgiving at times. But it played a factor. I mean, Kelsey fumbles a ball in the red zone. Does that happen necessarily if it wasn't pouring rain? I don't know. Marcus Valdez Scantling drops a huge game-winning touchdown. He does not have the best hands to begin with, but the rain again. It's wet out. The ball's wet. Hands are wet. It can contribute to not being able to haul in a ball at the crucial second. So, I mean, the Eagles fired back in this game. I mean, they were down, like you said, 7-17 at half. They had made some mistakes, and they kind of let the Chiefs get a field goal at the end of the half, or basically score before the end there, and they paid for it. But they just, as an offense, continue to just run the ball. I mean, that's all they did. I mean, they maybe had passed Devontae Smith here or there. Their great tight end Alex Goddard active, and then their backup tight end got hurt, so they pretty much did it all without a key part of their component of their offense is having a tight end out there as well to bail out Jalen Hurts. So, I mean, they did a good job. It wasn't a pretty game by any means. The outcome could be different if it wasn't raining. I mean, again, just like the Super Bowl, it's a toss-up. Both these teams can be very good, but they also can make some mistakes, and Eagles got the better of this game. The Chiefs.
Yeah, Cease, I think one thing I forgot to mention, Patrick Mahomes had the game won on a deep ball to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and just like he did when he used to play for the Packers, hit him in the hands and he dropped it. It's another pass this week that people on Twitter are having fun saying, "Oh, Mahomes could have thrown it better." He threw that on a rope down the field. It hit the guy in the hands. It's not like it was on the tip of the fingers either. It was in the palms. What are we doing here? Just stop. You can't say that, oh, he could have placed it 2 inches closer to the body. Fuck off, man. Jesus Christ. So
They'll do it.
that's number one. Number two, I think we can start talking about the Chiefs' second half issues as being a major problem. They need to figure this out. I think Andy Reid will figure it out. And I don't know. I think this is still a very good team, much more well balanced than in the past. And then the third thing I have to say, Jalen Hurts moved up to the MVP favorite after this game. He played a bad. It's the weather was bad, but he played a bad game too. Like, what are we doing here? It's not just the best quarterback on the
like
best.
150 yards passing.
Right. So I don't understand this. I get that there's not anyone standing out right now, and I get that he's the quarterback on the team that has the best record in the NFL. There's got to be a better MVP candidate. Jalen Hurts, I think, has done a great job over the last 2 years. The stats just don't warrant it. He has too many turnovers to win the MVP. There's got to be someone else we can find, even if it's got to go to a defensive player or a wide receiver or something. There's got to be someone we can find. Like Tyreek Hill, if he gets close to 2,000 yards, give it to him. Just like I was saying, we should give it to Derrick Henry when he had 200,000 yards a couple years ago too. So those are my final thoughts on that game. Just seemed like there was some weird fan reaction, weird gambling lines changing for MVP. It irked me a little bit. I'll be honest. All right, so those are that's the recap for the week. We're going to go to our picks for this week. We have a lot of games on Thanksgiving. We have 3 games on Thanksgiving we're going to get to first. We have the Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. This one is at 12:30 Eastern Time. The Lions are favored by 7.5 points, Cease.
Yeah, I'm locking in Lions to win and cover this one. I think this is the game the Lions have been looking forward to. At Ford Field, at 8-2 on Thanksgiving. I think those Detroit fans, for the first time in a long time, are going to go to a Thanksgiving game and go, wow, this actually means something. Because otherwise, most years they've come into that stadium and just gone, here comes another beating, but we have season tickets and we continue to, for some reason, make this our family tradition instead of being at home. So I think Detroit's going to be, it's their tradition, right? It's their big thing. They get the Thanksgiving early game every year at Ford Field. And I think they're going up against their rival Packers, who they've been beating. I don't think the Packers have shown anything to show that it's going to be a result this time. They got killed the first meeting this year by them. So I don't know if it's going to be a blowout, but I will take 7.5 points. I already put in some parlays for this game. I teased it down for good measure to 6.5. It's if you're not doing it, if you are parlaying with any other picks, take this minus like 20 and 6.5 because if they win this game by 7. Don't do it. It's worth. If you're betting it straight up, 7.5, honestly, probably teased up a little bit. But that's where I'm at. Lions to win and cover.
Yeah, I'm going Lions to win and cover too, Cease. This is a game you talked about. They've been a lot of anticipation for over the last several years. They wanted a good game on Thanksgiving. The Packers are banged up. Offensive line has plenty of issues. Aaron Jones is now probably not going to play this week. They just announced it's week to week, but he's not going to play on a Thursday game. Their offense is not very good. I don't have belief in Jordan Love. The wide receivers, I like Romeo Doubs still. I like Jaden Reed, but Christian Watson hasn't lived up to hype, and they also don't have a number one that can really just go get you a first down when you need it. I think the Packers won last week, and that's great, but I think going against the Lions is a little bit different. Lions to win and cover here. As you said, if you're gambling on it, though, maybe move it down to 6.5 or 7. Next one up, we have the Washington Commanders at the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are favored by 10.5 right now, Cease.
Again, Cowboys to win and cover. The Commanders have played a time. I mean, we just watched Tommy DeVito throw for yard all over the Commanders last week. It's in Jerry World. The Cowboys are having to put pace with the Eagles right now. I think we're going to see a lot of the same kind of bombs we saw with Darius Slayton. Instead of him and Tommy DeVito, it's going to be Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. So confident in that. Again, 10.5 is a weird spread, folks. I like that 9.5 better, but if straight up, go for it. Honestly, the Cowboys should probably win this one by 14 points.
Yeah, I'm going Cowboys to win and cover because they're hot right now. I'm with you on teasing it down if you want. It's a short week. Anything can happen. Thursday games in general are weird, but especially on Thanksgiving week, um, I think they should be able to run the ball a little bit. Maybe get Tony Pollard going a little bit here too. So I think the Cowboys can win and cover. The Commanders are just they're trying to tank. They're going to be able to tank and figure it out. The late game on Thursday, Steve, we have the 49ers at the Seahawks. The 49ers are on the road and favored by 6.5.
Yeah, give me that all day. I saw 7 earlier. 6.5 is even better, folks. That's right in my wheelhouse. 6.5, baby. Yeah, 49ers all day. Give me that. Um, this one. Kenneth Walker's banged up. Geno Smith's banged up. I just think this is a good win for them. I know NFC West plays hard, but the Niners, since that bye week, have been firing in all cylinders, and I just don't think the Seahawks are going to have it in them to stay a giant blowout, but I think they win by a touchdown comfortably.
I do too. I think the Geno injury is just huge. They said he's day to day, but like Pete Carroll thinks he'll be good. You just never know what that means. If you got to put in Drew Lock, I think this they cover completely. I don't think you tease this line. I think you roll with it. The 49ers are on fire. Mentioned if Trent Williams is playing, I have full faith in this team to be able to even get to a Super Bowl this year. So I'll go 49ers to win and cover. New this year, Cease, we have a Black Friday game. This one's at 3 p.m. Eastern. Kind of a weird time for an NFL game. I guess they're letting everyone get their shopping done in the morning or something. I don't know. But the Dolphins are playing the Jets. Dolphins are favored by 10 points right now. As mentioned earlier, Tim Boyle is starting for the Jets.
Yeah, this is probably the toughest of the holiday games. I'm going to pick Dolphins to win and cover. What worries me is that can limit an offense. It really just depends if the Jets get lucky and get a break on defense where either the offense gets a really short field or they score a pick six, that could destroy the line basically by itself. Also, not necessarily high percentage good plays all the time. And the Dolphins do have a powerful offense that I don't know how much the Jets will ultimately mitigate. So I got to go with the team that's been putting up points and has been doing it consistently all year. I'm going with the Dolphins to win and cover. Couple gripes I got before we move on about this game. One, 3 o'clock. Make it at prime time. Like I don't know why we can't have the prime time game. 3 o'clock's weird. I will still be at work, so I'm gonna have to lock myself in my office and just watch it because I guess sorry to my coworkers, it's football day. So it's a Friday. People still do work on Black Friday. Especially people in businesses. So, that's my first gripe. Is I'm looking on Amazon Prime, and I just saw it today while I was watching another Amazon Prime original. It says, "Join us for the game and special Friday deals." So, does that mean that they're
Oh.
gonna? What the hell is Amazon Prime gonna do to me? Like, as a football fan, I swear to God, if I start seeing like flash sales on crap that I don't care about, I'm going to start throwing something. I'm going to start screaming in the middle of my office. People are going to wonder if I'm okay. I'm not okay. First, Taylor Swift has invaded football. Love Taylor Swift by herself, but it's ruining the thing I love. I can love things separately. I don't need them to mesh together. This isn't like Nokia, Taco Bell. I don't want some megacorp. Okay, I'd like my things the way they are. And if you're gonna start throwing in, you trying to like just throw like me buying things while I'm trying to watch a football game, I'm really gonna start freaking out because I don't want that. I don't. It's a bad combo, and I'm all for having football on Black Friday. No one has anything to do. As many football games on a week at its solo time I will watch. So I'm all for it. That way I can watch a singular game and enjoy it versus having to watch six at once. As awesome as it is, you do miss things. And but if you're gonna start from the broadcast to tell me about your Black Friday deals on Amazon Prime,
I'm with you. I don't understand why they decided to do a Black Friday game. First of all, it's a day that's filled with college football, and it's like a lot of the games that don't necessarily get ratings until after people get off work anyway. Is this a way they're just planning to? Amazon's like, we really need this so we can get some sales going, and hey, maybe people can watch with their girlfriends or wives because they'll have deals popping up on the screen, and that's what they're trying to go for in the future. I don't know. I really don't. I just would have preferred that could just be college football day or something. We can still have everything spread out, but either way, Dolphins win and cover. The Jets starting Tim Boyle isn't exciting. Jalen Ramsey's starting to get going on that defense. Tyreek Hill has the hand injury. I think he's going to be fine. He returned last week. He's not going to play Fortnite this week. He'd be ready for this game. And I think the Dolphins just have a much better team right now and a lot better vibes. It's not a team that they're going to be going up against that's great, so they should have a chance to win and cover. Moving on to Sunday, Cease, we have the Steelers at the Bengals. The Steelers are favored by 1 on the road. We won't have Joe Burrow. We won't have Matt Canada.
Yeah. Give me I hate this. Give me a Steelers to cover. I mean, I don't trust Jake. Like, I just don't. Like, why would I trust? I don't understand why the line is the way it is. I guess they just think that the Steelers' offense is somehow worse than the Bengals is going to be. I mean, it didn't look horrible last week. I'll give them that. Jake Browning played okay. They did score a touchdown after. What does that mean for the future? I don't know, but they are going up again against one that fell. Jake Browning is not Joe Burrow, so I would be interested in what the line would be if Joe Burrow was playing healthy at the same time. Every game, and these two teams are going to play tough, and I feel a lot more to play for right now than the Bengals do. Bengals are playing for pride. I get, they don't want the Steelers to win, but his offense really worse than it was with Matt Canada. 2, now there's tape on exactly what's going to happen this week with the Steelers, so the defense are going to be able to prepare for it. And 2, the Bengals are trying to game plan for a new quarterback who does not have the same skill set and has not looked good in most of the limited action filling in for Joe Burrow. So, yeah, you should bet the Steelers on this one. Do I want Bengals to win? Yes, I will still root for them to always win every game, despite the overall goal probably to lose. It's an interdivisional rival, and I will always cheer for the Bengals to beat the Steelers. I don't care what's at stake outside of this. Steelers should win this game.
Yeah, Steelers. Matt Canada being gone is an addition by subtraction, I think. I don't think it's going to solve everything, but it might solve a little bit. And Bengals, like I said, I think the deflated locker room, there's some mottos of it can still be done, but it just feels so hollow. It feels like they're really not, the heart's not in it, and I understand it's just human nature. So Steelers still have a good defense. T.J. Watt I think will have a big game in this one. Steelers will win, and that's all we got to say about that one. Jacksonville Jaguars at Houston Texans. Cease. Jaguars favored by 2 points.
You know what? Houston. The up there at Houston. I played really well down the stretch. I think CJ interception last. I think the Jaguars have been hit or they've been, and I think this game means a lot more to the Texans than it does. So, I think they're going to come in. Trevor will D'Amico Ryans. He really could. I mean, that defense at a higher level. I like Houston at home in an upset.
All right. Well, I'll go Jaguars to win and cover in this one. I like what they showed last week against the Titans. Kind of the bounce back. I think getting Trevor Lawrence more comfortable. He's had a rough season. Getting him more comfortable, getting him going is huge. If they have him and ETN going off at the same time, I think they're dangerous. And I don't think the Texans are bad. I think it's a big leap to say, hey, they might win the AFC South if they win this game. They might go from being so bad to winning AFC South. That's just a leap. My mind just can't make that. So I'll take the Jaguars to win and cover. And if they don't, then my mind will just naturally make that leap. Next one up, we have the Carolina Panthers at the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are favored by 3.5.
Um, give me. I'm going to take the Titans to win. I'm going to take the Panthers with the points. This is a classic. I don't believe in either team very much. The Titans are better. They should Will Levis. However, there could be, the Panthers have a good defense. Maybe Will Levis field position. There's really just nothing much to watch for this game. Keep this off your television. Stay away from betting it. Maybe you bet some interceptions. Um, but outside of that, I would just stay away because the Titans, I don't really know how they're going to do their offense. Are they actually carrying the ball? Are they not? It's just too many question marks to really bet on anything in this game. So I would stay away from it. But gun to my head, Titans should win, and I'll take the Panthers with the points.
I'll take Titans to win and cover. The Panthers for me, it's they could keep this within a field goal for sure. I just the offensive line issues kind of scare me. And if the Titans do get the lead, can they just run the ball? Can they give it to Derrick Henry? Am I believing too much in Derrick Henry after the Titans seemingly have not believed in him as much as they should have? So I'll go Titans win and cover. It's not a great game. I'm with you. I'd stay away from this, at least betting the spread. It's honestly, Vegas did a good job with it. I think that's exactly where it should be. We have the New Orleans Saints taking on the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. The Falcons are favored by 1 point, Cease, but we have Desmond Ridder returning to take over the offense for Atlanta. We have Derek Carr in concussion protocol for the Saints. We don't know if he's going to play or if it's going to be Jameis, so there's a lot up in the air right now for this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Saints to win. I just think they're a better football team than the Falcons. I wouldn't say necessarily more talented. I would just say is able to do more than one thing on offense. So, again, this is more, I don't like the Saints or believe in them necessarily. This is more of a condemnation of Arthur Smith and everything he does as a football coach. So, I don't trust them. Maybe if they decide Bijan's going to get 25 carries and Drake London's going to get the ball and so is Kyle Pitts, I'd say, sure, give me the Falcons at home. I'm confident in that. But for me, the Saints can do more than one thing and can vary their offense just enough. Whether it's Jameis or Derek Carr, I don't think, honestly, the result will change that much for me in my way I see this game. So give me the Saints.
Yeah, I think they're just a better team, right? Like if you look at their defense, if you look at the quarterback position, running back position, and even if it's, if you want to have an argument about Kamara and Bijan, that's great. Bijan's just not being used the right way. That's all fine and good. So right now, the way they're being used, Kamara's better. Wide receiver core, everything. So this is a team we should believe in. They should win. I know they've had their struggles, whether it's Jameis or Derek Carr. I don't care. I would take the Saints to beat them. You're going to give me a point. I'll take that point, and just roll with the Saints. The next game is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are favored by 2.5. I have no info yet, Cease, on whether the door is going to be open. The windows will be open. The roof will be open. I have no idea.
Probably close this late, plus of all places. But you never know. Maybe we get some crazy good weather. I'm assuming it's going to be closed, and dome game really plays Tampa Bay playing a dome team in late November. That's for them. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers to win this. I like them as road underdogs just because I'm not really super bought in on the Colts. Played decent, but there's just nothing really that great. And honestly, the Buccaneers decent run defense. Obviously, the last game they got kind of pummeled by the Bears, but they had been playing on defense a lot better, giving up a lot less yards, especially on the ground. So I think they'll limit Jonathan Taylor a little bit and be able to step up and get enough points on the Colts.
Yeah, I'm going Bucks too. I'm a big fan of how they've played. Like I said earlier, they beat the teams they should beat for the most part. They lose to the teams they should lose to. It's refreshing to me, Cease, to have in a time where we can actually know what we're getting out of a team in a weird way. So I'll go Bucks. I think Mike Evans has a big day, and they get the win on the road. And we also have the Colts. They just waived Shaq Leonard, a guy who's a former All-Pro, because they phased him out of the defense, and now he's not on the team. I feel like that might affect the locker room a little bit. The guy who had been a captain, and Shane Steichen's team just not really being used. So I guess that's fun. All right, the last of the 1 p.m. games, we have the New England Patriots favored by 3 points at the New York Giants.
Jesus. About this week because I was looking at it earlier today. This is maybe the one week, obviously you don't want to put a bunch of, if you're a person who bets like all the spreads or a bunch of them at once or a lot of the heads up games. Ultimately, the week I just went, even if I had a free bet, some betting free for you. Um, and I thought about doing multiple, a lot of spreads or a lot of, just money lines because it's free $50, but I really couldn't put together more than like 4 games. And there were the 3 or 4 where like we're talking the 49ers or the Dolphins or some really heavy favorite. These game spreads are all very low, and the money lines basically they're pick'em. So I mean, we're talking about 2 to 3 point spreads. Those games because there's not many games in the NFL that are ever decided by 1 to 2 points. It's 3 or 4. So it's a weird week. I'm gonna go with Bill Belichick after the. That's really the only reason. I do like what I saw Tommy DeVito last week. We'll see if he can keep it up, but ultimately we'll lean on Bill Belichick and what he can pretty much design from having a week off to prepare for the Giants and another week of tape on Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I considered the Patriots, but I'm going Giants outright with the points. Big fan of Tommy DeVito now. I know we've done a 180 with them, but the Italian quarterback doing a great job this past week. He has, I believe, obviously better stats than Kenny Pickett, better fantasy performances than I think over the last 4 weeks than like Patrick Mahomes. People fact checking me on that, but I think they don't need a star quarterback, and that's why it made the most not that much sense that they signed Daniel Jones, but they can play the running game. The defense is playing pretty well. Wink Martindale's getting a lot out of the defense, I should say. Not that, they're not playing the best defense, but he's getting the most out of them. And Kayvon Thibodeau has 10 sacks. We'll go Giants. Screw it. It's going to be a weird game. I don't think the Patriots are very good this year. I think Bill Belichick, if the rumors are true that he's already picked out his next destination, he's already checked out, then, he may not be prepared for this one. So let's go Giants. The evening games on Sunday, we have the Cleveland Browns at the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are favored by 2.5.
Good. Give me the Browns. I think the Broncos finally drop one of these improbable games. I'm not super confident in the Browns, but I think their defense is going to make Russell Wilson struggle. And I think, the Browns inexplicably have been able to stay in these games and pretty much win games they shouldn't. So I'm taking the Browns to win.
Okay, I'm going to go with the Broncos. They're hot, and I love the way they're playing. I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson can be successful with the Browns, but they have to be able to willing to run with him a lot. And if the Broncos can shut that down and make it a situation where he has to pass, I give them not that much chance to win. I think Russell Wilson's coming along. Cortland Sutton's having a fantastic year. I'll go Broncos to win and cover. We have the Los Angeles Rams at the Arizona Cardinals up next. The Rams right now are favored by 0.5 point, so it's basically a pick 'em.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cardinals in this one with Kyler Murray back. Just because there's been some injuries again to the Rams. I don't think Cooper Kupp's going to play. I think they're a banged up team. I think, the Cardinals are getting a decently, they have Kyler Murray back, and that's something. I don't know exactly that means ultimately for the Cardinals, end of the season, what the record's going to look like, but I think they're hitting the Rams at the right time. So give me the Cardinals to win.
Yeah, I'm going Cardinals too. They're 2-3 at home this year. All their losses are on. Not all their losses, but they're 0-6 on the road. They don't win on the road, but they're at home. Kyler Murray's back. They've showed up good fight since he's returned. Let's go with Kyler Murray to beat the Rams at home. And if you're going to give me the point, I will take it. Buffalo Bills at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles favored by 3.5.
I'm going to go with the Eagles to win and cover. More excited about this game than probably the last 5 we've named off. I think the Bills played better, but again, they played against a Jets was really struggling to do anything on offense. So it's a lot easier to play free when you know the offense has no chance of really. Once you go up by 20 points on the Jets, you can pretty much relax as long as you don't throw it into double coverage and start doing turnovers like they did in game one against them. But the Eagles are a different offense. I think the Eagles will just be able to beat up the Bills' defensive line. I think they can't really stop the run, and the Eagles are just too strong. They're going to blow open some holes for the running game, and I think the Eagles will just be able to take. So give me the Eagles to win and cover.
Eagles win and cover for me too. I know the Bills played okay after the first game without Ken Dorsey, but this is a different animal when you got the Eagles who have a pretty good defense and an offense to go with it. Like I said, I don't think the Eagles have played their best football this season, but they're still 9-1. They get credit for that. I think they can win and cover against the Bills who have their struggles. Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders are up next. The Chiefs are favored by 9 points. Cease.
Um, don't love the spread, but give me the Chiefs to win and cover. I think they're gonna start feeling like they need to start winning games to keep home field advantage alive for themselves. So I could definitely see them, kind of turn it on more in this game. They're going to be up against a team who's been playing hard, but still just doesn't have the talent. So I trust the Chiefs to be able to down a little bit. So Chiefs to win and cover this one.
Same for me. Like I said, I'm impressed with how the Raiders are playing, but this is the perfect opportunity for the Chiefs to have a good get right game. The Raiders are not the best. They're not most equipped to win and make the Chiefs pay for their struggles. I think they get right here. The offense gets back on track, and they get win and cover the game. Baltimore Ravens at the San Diego it's 2 weeks in a row on San Diego Chargers at the Los Angeles Chargers. Sunday Night Football. Ravens are favored by 4 points on the road.
Yeah, give me the Ravens to win and cover. I don't trust the Chargers with anything right now. And it's a home game, which means nothing since it's LA. And it's at nighttime, so the time advantage is not in their favor. Maybe it will be because it'll shift back. Baltimore will feel like it's 11 o'clock at night. Still, Baltimore's still talented, even without Mark Andrews. I think they cruise through this one with 4 points, so winning cover.
Yeah, I have the same thing. Ravens playing really good football. The only reason why I consider the Chargers in this is just that what we talked about with the Ravens, up and down with their season, still have a good game against one team, a bad game against a team they should beat. And for the Chargers, they're got to be desperate at this point for a win, but I think the Ravens win and cover. Monday Night Football, another barn burner sees. We have the Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are favored by 3.5.
Ugh. Give me the Vikings to win. I'm assuming Justin Jefferson is going to probably play this one next week. Give me as well. It's really not. It's hard to tell in this game ultimately. Justin Fields has played better, and the Bears have been playing a little better. I don't know how much that can not always translate to points for them. But I think with Justin Jefferson back in and Josh Dobbs continuing to try to make something out, I think they'll win this game. I think I'll take that low spread.
I'll take the Vikings to win and cover. Still going with the power of Creed, powering them forward. The Bears played their best game, I thought, maybe of the season even, with Justin Fields and using him the right way, and that's encouraging. But the Vikings have a little bit more to play for right now than the Bears do, so I'll take them to win and cover. All right, those are the picks for the week. Cease, any final thoughts?
Not really. It's like I said, give me an interesting week just because all these matchups are so close. Unfortunately, it's not one of those, oh, that means there's going to be a lot of great football. It's a lot of middling teams, but we'll still be watching all of it. And for everybody who's been listening all season long, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving and really enjoy all those Amazon Prime deals on this Black Friday.
Definitely. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. My turn to remind everyone to like and subscribe on YouTube, and then also wherever we have our podcast, and to go give us a 5-star rating or a 1-star rating. Just rate us on Amazon or on not Amazon. We're too much Amazon. On Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts as we go along. It helps us along the way. For now, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.